Folks, we're going to talk about something that is a little bit more intense, and this is the drawbacks that young brokers, when they come in to level funding from the fully insured world, are not necessarily aware of. Now, these things you can either learn through experience, and that makes you a smart person, or you can learn from somebody else's mistakes or somebody else's struggles, and that's called wisdom. I'm going to try to share a bit of wisdom today so that everybody can have a little bit better retention, better reputation with their clients. As the broker, your reputation and your ability to have and share trust is what you're really providing. You are their guide. So with that, a little bit of wisdom on the problems of level funding for the new brokers coming over. If they don't know these, they're going to get in some trouble or some sticky conversations, tough situations. Number one, leaving a plan early. Level funded plans are set up on a 12-month basis. You do not want to advise your clients, even if they hate you, even if they hate me, even if they hate some other carrier. They are on for a 12-month contract. If they leave early, things get squirrely. It is not a good idea to leave a level funded plan early. That is a big time problem for a lot of young brokers. They don't communicate, and then all of a sudden somebody wants to leave, and stop loss gets, well, you had a 12-month contract. If you're violating it, they're not going to fulfill what they promised over that longer period of time, simply because, well, you've already broke the contract. So with that, that's probably the big one. Number two, contract runout periods. One of the great benefits of level funding is you have a way to get a surplus of the excess claims amounts when you have a great year in terms of claims. In order to do that, you need to close the books. And so in level funded plans, you have a book window, if you will, of the 12-month contract plus a thing called a runout period. That's the contract period. With that contract period, generally it's expressed as a 12/18 or a 12/24. There are other ones out there. These are the two big ones. If you have a surplus, if you have a plan that runs well, that surplus is not clear of runout until the end of that period. So if you have a 12/24 and you run well for the first year, that money is still in their accounts for an additional 12 months, simply because that money could have claims that come against it. As much as people try to be on time and timely with their filing of claims, hospital systems sometimes are behind or sometimes edit bills after they've come in. You want to make sure that you have a longer runout period. Now, from time to time, a hospital system will come in and say, this is 4 years after the fact, but we didn't bill for this MRI. We want the money. This is a conversation that happens from time to time in our book of business, across our book a couple times a year, but it's not without happening. So with that in mind, realize that there may be claims that come in outside of the claims runout window, and when that happens, that is a negotiation, because the books have already closed, with the plan owner and that provider. If they are not aware of this additional risk, widget, whatever, then this can be a big surprise to them, because it is different than fully insured. Now, in those situations, the hospital, in my opinion, should be hat in hand saying we didn't do our job for 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, and they should be a lot more accommodating to those bills. But that is another risk to level funding, are late bills that come in years after the fact from the providers. Number three of level funding is the paperwork. You need to do a lot more paperwork. Now, most of this paperwork is taken care of and sent to you, the plan over, for review, but they have to sign the document for the 1095Bs. They have to sign the document for the PCORIs, and they have to physically mail those to the regulators. Additionally, there's a thing called a 5500 report that is our opinion. If you have a self-funded health plan, it has to be filed every year. Now, we do these, but if you're with another carrier, make sure that they're doing those on an annual basis, because the runout period, in my opinion, now different people have different opinions and every attorney has a different interpretation of the law, but those runout periods have to be filed as a 5500, or have to have a 5500 for that year as well. Now, we're one of the final ones that we're going to talk about today, and these are getting less and less common in terms of questions that we get from new brokers coming on, and that is why we have IHQs. Well, IHQs help us price the plans accurate to reality of that group. Insurance is for unknown risk. Now, health plan finance is fully insured. They're just trying to finance all the claims. With self-funding, you are trying to protect against unknown risk and be okay if something bad happens, but also be more accurate in your upfront pricing. Because of this, You need to get the IHQs so that you get deeply into the information so that us as the underwriters can more accurately price the plan and put those additional cost savings back into the pockets or back into the budgets of those Main Street shops. So not only can they take care of their employees or their members through the health plan, they can also reduce their monthly cost and go out and spend it on something else, like additional benefits or a new work truck or something like that. This money is not inside of the benefit trust agreement because it is outside of the plan if you reduce their costs compared to fully insured. So those are the big ones that new brokers need to know about. One, it's a 12-month contract. Do not leave early. It gets really messy. Number two, there's a runout period. So it's not a closed book right after the plan is over. A lot of brokers get excited about a surplus on their renewal and they say, hey, we've got $15,000 left. They tell their client about it, but it's going to be another year before that's clear of runout. Realize there is a runout period, and that is expressed as a 1218 or a 1224. Number three, claims that come in super, super late. These books have been closed. That's why you have the surplus mechanism. And in those moments, if a hospital has been 2 or 3 or 4 years behind, it can be an issue. And then number four, the additional paperwork that you need to do. 5500s, we prepare the forms. They have to sign them and send them in. So there is another step to it. And finally, number five, the amount of information to help us get a more accurate picture of the actual plan so that we can price it much more accurately. Those are the big things that new brokers need to know. Old brokers have already known and consider as second hat, but because of that, there's not a lot of communication between the older guys and the new guys when they come into the space. I hope this helps you be a little bit more wise in your business, helping Main Street fight for their future instead of funding Wall Street. We'll see you in a bit.